Hey friends, it's time to play Quiz Game On! Today, we're diving into 50 awesome US history questions, each with 4 tricky options. So let's see how many you can crack, learn a few cool facts along the way, and most importantly, have some fun with it. Let's get started! Before we begin, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with your quiz squad. What is the name of the very first president of the United States? Yep, the answer is George Washington. In which year was the Declaration of Independence officially signed? You got it, the answer is 1776. What was the main reason that caused the American Civil War? That's right, it was slavery. Who is the person who actually wrote the Declaration of Independence? Correct, it was Thomas Jefferson. Which U.S. war took place between the years 1812 and 1815? Yes, that's the War of 1812. Which president issued the famous Emancipation Proclamation? Exactly, Abraham Lincoln. In what year did the United States join World War I? The answer is 1917. What was the name of the ship that carried the Pilgrims in 1620? That's right, it was the Mayflower. Who is known as the main author of the U.S. Constitution? It was James Madison. In which year did the stock market crash and start the Great Depression? That year was 1929. What exactly is the Bill of Rights? It's the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. Which U.S. president resigned from office, the only one ever to do so? That's Richard Nixon. What purchase doubled the size of the U.S. in 1803? The Louisiana Purchase. Who commanded the Confederate Army during the Civil War? That was Robert E. Lee. Which president was tragically assassinated in 1963? Yes, John F. Kennedy. The Boston Tea Party was actually a protest against what? It was against British taxes. In which year did women finally gain the right to vote in America? That was in 1920. Who became the very first African-American president of the United States? That's Barack Obama. Which war ended with the Treaty of Paris in 1783? The American Revolution. What was the main purpose of the Lewis and Clark expedition? It was to explore Western territories. The Great Compromise resulted in what kind of Congress? A bicameral Congress. Who delivered the iconic "I Have a Dream" speech in 1963? That was Martin Luther King Jr. What was the very first successful English colony in America? It was Jamestown. In what year did the U.S. land the first man on the moon? That was 1969. Which country sold Alaska to the U.S. in 1867? It was Russia. The Monroe Doctrine opposed European involvement in which region? The Western Hemisphere. Who was the president during the Cuban Missile Crisis? It was John F. Kennedy. What was the Underground Railroad all about? It was a network helping slaves escape. In what year did the United States enter World War II? That was 1941. What event in 1775 kicked off the American Revolution? The battles of Lexington and Concord. Who served as the first Secretary of the Treasury? It was Alexander Hamilton. What did the 13th Amendment accomplish? It abolished slavery. Which U.S. president served 4 terms in office? That was Franklin D. Roosevelt. What was the most important crop in the southern colonies? It was tobacco. In what year was the U.S. Constitution signed? That was 1787. Who invented the light bulb? It was Thomas Edison. What was the big issue at the Scopes trial in 1925? It was about teaching evolution. Which president warned against political parties in his farewell address? That was George Washington. What was the main purpose of the Marshall Plan? To rebuild Europe after World War II. The Trail of Tears involved the forced removal of which native group? It was the Cherokee. What did the Homestead Act of 1862 provide for settlers? Free land in the West. Who led the Union Army to victory in the Civil War and later became president? That was Ulysses S. Grant. In what year did the tragic September 11th terrorist attacks happen? That was 2001. Which U.S. policy aimed to stop the spread of communism after World War II? It was containment. Which movement fought to end racial segregation in America? The Civil Rights Movement. Who was president during the Watergate scandal? It was Richard Nixon. The Gilded Age was marked by what major development? Rapid industrialization. Which amendment lowered the voting age to just 18? The 26th Amendment. What was the main purpose of the New Deal programs? To recover from the Great Depression. Who was the very first woman appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court? That was Sandra Day O'Connor. Thanks for watching! Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next brainy battle, only on Quiz Game On!